Hi, welcome to Master Your Movement. This presentation about mastering your movement. I'm Jeff Kamart and I work for and with Zeal Holistic Health. So thanks for taking the time to be here and to be with me. And I hope in this presentation you gain some little new nugget of information that just might help you to understand or to master your movement. So there's several components we'll go through in mastering your movement. And in those, I hope, again, that you find something there that maybe you can add into your movement or add into your exercise or add into your routine that may help you then to move with more strength or to move with more confidence. So let's move along to our next slide. We're going to try that again. Let's see if we get the next slide. There it is. Okay, so speaking about posture. So posture in relation to movement is quite important. Why? Well, with good posture, and you think of the natural S-curves through your spine, that helps to distribute the load of your own body weight or the load of whatever weight you may be lifting in exercise or the load you might be carrying in your yoga class or anything like that. So if you reference the image there, you can see with a side view, right, from through the ear, through the shoulder, through the elbow, through the hip, knee, and down to the ankle bone, that everything is nicely aligned, right? And in that allows for the least amount of misalignment of shoulders or misalignment of hips or knees or ankles through movements. For example, if you were to do a squat pattern, let's say if you do a squat pattern and you are back to do a squat, ideally you want to maintain your posture through your movement is the point I'm trying to make here for you, in that the posture of being tall, proud, and upright from tailbone to crown, we have a nice alignment there. Or when you stand up tall and proud, everything tends to fall in good alignment for yourself. But then you want to carry that over into your movement. So for example, if a squat, if my heels are hip width apart, I sit bum back, and now I have, again, that straight line of tailbone to crown with my eyes looking down, rather than looking up where I put my neck into extension. And then that's going to have some load and down the spine and how that may feel through the musculature of the back. So when you're squatting down, ideally you maintain your posture with your eyes looking down. So if you're like doing gardening work or something and you were going to lift a wheelbarrow full of gardening material, you know, ideally you're looking right into the barrel itself and you're using your legs to help stand you up through that. And so there's a little reference to posture and how that can benefit you. Certainly with posture, then also you want to know that it'll aid and support all of those good things like respiration and digestion and elimination, circulation, and organ function. How, you might ask? Well, with compression, like if you're slouched and you're compressing down on your digestive system or compressing down on your vital organs, they're not going to work as happily or as easily or effectively or efficiently. So being tall and upright allows the musculature, the vital organs to work more to your advantage or more easily, as well as it allows for even easier to take a breath in. If I ask you to take a big deep breath, slouched over with your shoulders up and your chin dropped to your sternum, you're really restricted in how much air you can take in. But if you're tall, proud, and upright with that good posture, and then you take a big breath in, you have much more availability for the lung expansion to occur and more opportunity for the volume of breath to be taken into your lungs as well. And then certainly with good posture, like I said, it'll aid in your elimination as well. So in your movement, in relation to movement, good posture is going to help you to move the body in the strongest potential. Now, if you're not used to having or working with good posture, this may take some time to build that up. But no, with good posture, ideally, your movement becomes more supported. Moving along to breathing. Now, we know breathing is super important, right? Breathing is the most important nutrient humans require. It is the first act of life, and certainly when our breath ends, our life would end, right? So it's highly important, and the breath is tied in with all the functions of the body. It's really tied in. So you can follow your breath through your movement. It'll help you to get more out of your movement. So a couple of important tips for exhalation and inhalation with reference to your spine or reference to how you're moving or using your body. Preferably when you think of an exhalation, you would think of things drawing inward. Think of the fetal position coming in. An inhalation is opening or elongating or extending the spine, or things opening up, and you might consider yourself in more of a star position. So this can be important for things like if I reference a crunch, if you're lying on your back and you're going to do a crunch, Ideally, you're going to exhalation so the physiology of the body can match through the flexion of the abdominal musculature and match you and support that movement best. Versus if we flipped you over and you were lying face down and you did a back extension, preferably the inhalation then again physiologically is going to match more with the activation of the low back musculature and glutes to take you through spinal extension. So with your movement, if you're thinking again, if I reference that idea of the wheelbarrow, if you're going to pick up a wheelbarrow, setting our posture, great. And now with breath to stand up with it, ideally you could think of inhaling, right? Because we're taking in the spine and coming upright through the spine and becoming more open through the body. So ideally get the hands on the handles of the wheelbarrow and you stand up with an in breath would offer you the best physiological match for the movement with your breath. And further to that, then belly breathing. So belly breathing, why am I mentioning belly breathing? So belly breathing, I feel, is highly important in relation to movement because it can help you to condition your body into staying calm or relaxed through exercise as best you can or through movement. So think of movement or exercise as generating a stress on the body, right? So if I'm doing a weightlifting class and I'm lifting weights, this is creating stress in the body. And typically that puts you into a state of sympathetic state or a state where there's more cortisol released into the body. But if you purposely take your time through the movement to breathe as best you can in through the nose and out from the mouth. Now, let me take a back step. When you breathe in through your nose, you're activating more of your parasympathetic system. So the opposite side of the sympathetic system, the parasympathetic system, then is more related to rest, recovery, rejuvenation of the body. So physiologically, again, with the breath pattern, breathing in through the nose calmly and slowly, you're cueing the body and the chemicals and the hormones of the body that you're in a state of calm or in a state that's safe. So in your yoga class, in your Pilates class, in your strength training class, whatever it is with as far as movement goes, as best you can, you could condition yourself or practice to condition yourself to breathe in through the nose and out from the mouth through the movement, and trying to condition the body that even though you're putting the body through a stress state, right, with the movement, you can use the parasympathetic system or practice that to try to remain in a state of calm as well. So the breathing can benefit the movement that way. But by all means, certainly, if you're in a class and things are becoming more challenging and more difficult and you need to mouth breathe just because your respiration rate is rising, well, then fine, that's what you need to do. Breathing is the most important thing, like we said, without it, life ends. So you got to breathe. But if you can condition the body to be more calm or be more relaxed and be able to take on a challenge or a stress of working out, but not being overly stimulated to the sympathetic side. So belly breathing can offer things like expelling toxins from the body and improving on your circulation, can help calm your mind, and a few others there that are noted on the screen. So if you join me, let's do a quick little testing of belly breathing. You can take one hand and place it on your belly button. You can take the second hand and place it up near your sternum. And if you breathe in through the nose, belly breathing, right? Breathe in through the nose. And follow the breath in the body and then calmly exhale out. Now this time, again, notice what happens with the hands. Ideally, we'd like to notice that bottom hand in that first third or first 2/3 of the breath, that the belly expands, that the diaphragm is working well, and then that internal pressure creates the belly expansion. And then as you continue the breath, you can think of filling lungs from bottom up toward their top, that as they fill more fully, the collarbones or the chest or the sternum might move. So the second hand or top hand might move toward the latter part of the breath. You notice some expansion there. And the idea is that with the belly breathing, yeah, we're cueing that parasympathetic system by breathing slow and deeply in through the nose, but also then by taking in a full deep breath, you're also then actively taking in more oxygen to your advantage, which can fuel your movement longer with more breath being drawn in or taken in. So there's a nice tip or two for you. With your breathing, you can think of those. That's the big one. Exhalation through flexion, inhalation through extension. If you're working with a lighter load and it's not terribly heavy, as long as you're breathing, we're going to say that's going to be, you should be safe. But you get into heavy loads, you might want to really consider that exhalation through flexion and inhalation through extension. Moving along into bracing a neutral spine. So this is important with movement. And on this, this image here, we're looking at the arrows in reference to a bunch of checkpoints that you can consider to help you keep your spine braced or your core muscles engaged to help hold your spine in best alignment for you personally. So if we go through the list there, it mentions chin level. So if we start there, right, this is basically in reference to posture. So if you stand up tall and proud, your chin should be level. Your head is not back in extension, your chin is not tucked into flexion, but chin level. So that puts the neck vertebrae in nice alignment. And then if we come down to the belly button, that arrow there is referencing the belly button. So at the belly button, what you have there is 2 layers of abdominal muscle tissue that you want to activate to help cinch in and support your core, or use the core musculature rather to support your spine for or through your movement. So one, the outer layer of the abdominal muscle, it would be your 6-pack, right? We've all got 6-packs in there somewhere, whether you are visible or not, but they're there. So the musculature, let me reference a bicep to give you this analogy. So a muscle has fibers running through it from one end to the other, right? Through. And as you go into flexion, those fibers or the length of those fibers would shorten to generate movement. The muscle then crossing the tendon, crossing the elbow joint creates that movement, pulling the forearm, the lower arm inward with flexion of the muscle tissue. So those fibers shorten. So in your 6-pack and your abdominal musculature there, when you go into a crunch pattern, right, we generate shortening of the muscle tissue in a crunch pattern because those fibers are running straight up and down your abdomen. So in that, and referencing that you want to consider that layer. And so if my fingers are that layer, the 6-pack layer, the second layer in behind and underneath is your transverse abdominal, and those muscle fibers run laterally across you. So they're in 90-degree angle to the abdominals, outer rectus abdominal muscles, so those transverse abdominal muscles below. So those two layers of muscle tissue we'd like to activate. Now, I'm not saying excuse me, these things need to be super tense or super tight, but they just need to be slightly activated. So at the belly button, you can just reference the belly button as drawn in ever so slightly. So we're not saying pull your belly button to touch your spine. That's too much. Just a little awareness of actively drawing the belly button in. So that transverse abdominal muscle comes from right behind you. If some of the vertebrae of your spine stems in, if this is my spine back here, and wraps around toward your belly button at the front. And basically like a corset, right, as you draw or actively draw the belly button in, you offer pressure, tension into the musculature, and that offers stability, integrity through your middle section because you're then connecting and stabilizing the lower trunk, the pelvis, and the spine in that with the belly button slightly drawn in. Then you would come out to that 6-pack muscles, the ab muscles, and you offer a little bit of squeeze. I like to reference that as if you saw someone who was going to come up to you and tap you in the belly, you just instinctively would tighten your tummy muscles a little bit, right? In anticipation for it. So I'm not saying you got to squeeze really hard. It's just a little bit of tension, just a little bit of awareness. And that then is allowing the space from the rib cage above and the crest of the pelvis below, offering some integrity and strength through there. So those 2 layers of musculature, core muscles, helping you to brace your spine in good alignment, in a neutral spine, ideally. And then the arrow pointing upward along the thigh in the diagram is in reference to your pelvic floor. So in the bottom of your pelvis is musculature, and we just, in general, just refer to that today as the pelvic floor. And like your diaphragm, when you're breathing, your diaphragm actively moves up and down. If you think of like an octopus or like an umbrella being open and closed, your diaphragm moves up and down. The pelvic floor acts in a similar fashion. So when you actively draw your pelvic floor up and in, such as a Kegel, if you're familiar with the term Kegel, when you gently draw the pelvic floor up and in, each half of your pelvis has a little bit of play left and right. It's small, it's not much. But when you actively draw that pelvic floor musculature up and in, you're creating some internal pressure there and some stability through the pelvis, which helps to keep it in good alignment there, a good neutral alignment for you. So pelvic floor slightly engaged, another core musculature. Looking at the diagram for the shoulder blades on our diagram, the scapula, bracing and keeping a posture and alignment of the shoulders with the shoulder blades down and back is a reference there as to the scapula being down and back. So with the scapula down and back, typically, as soon as you start to pull them down and back, the shoulders tend to roll back or your chest tends to open up. And this would also match up with the conjunction on the following image of the collarbones, or the arrows pointing out where the collarbones go wide. So you can kind of tie these two together, pulling the shoulders back, opens the collarbones. And then what this is essentially doing is putting each shoulder socket in the best alignment for movement, for lifting things or pushing things or pulling things. So to brace and to hold those scapula in the best alignment or the best spacing for you, if you hold your arm up and underneath the armpit, you've got your lat muscles there. So from that part of that meaty space muscle underneath the armpit, that actively can help to hold the scapula in place. How so? Well, if you reference your elbow, if I put my elbow in my hand and I try to pull my elbow down, but I'm offering resistance up from this hand below, you might then feel the engagement of that lat muscle tissue, that lat muscle. And when you engage it, so when you engage your lats then by pulling, and that helps to hold the scapula, shoulder blades down and back and in place through your movements. And then we reference the glutes there. You can see arrows in. So a little bit of squeeze of the butt, a little bit of squeeze of the glutes will help to align your pelvis for you naturally, right? For you naturally, we're all different. So we all may have slightly more curvature through the lumbar spine. That might be a little different. But when you actively squeeze your glutes, that tends to put your pelvis in best alignment for you. So you can use that as a checklist. Glutes with a little bit of squeeze. Again, not rock hard, but just a little bit of squeeze is ideal. And then we've got that arrow reference of being tall and proud off the top of the head. So basically on the previous slide about posture there, where you're tall, proud, and up, things tend to line up. So you can start there, up if you want. So we got chin level, then you can go belly button in, pelvic floor activated, shoulder blades down and back, glutes squeezing, collarbones wide, and your crown up. You're tall and proud. And actively using some of that muscle tissue along the way, help you to brace and stabilize your neutral spine through any movement you might encounter or any movement you want to take on. Now with movement, you also want to consider your range of motion, right? So ideally, to strengthen muscle tissue maximally, to get the best benefit out of it, you want to take your musculature through the greatest range of motion that's obviously pain-free for you. So let me give you an example of that. If I give you a side view and I use my elbow here again, or a bicep as a reference, so as I flex, if I had a dumbbell in hand and I were to lift that to my shoulder to do a bicep curl, flexing that bicep muscle tissue, we want that full range of motion through that elbow joint. Why? Well, because as we elongate the muscle tissue, you're gonna, or whatever muscle tissue is engaged and used within the movement or within the exercise, that is what you have the potential to improve on, or the potential to build more strength or more endurance in. But if you're cutting the range of motion shorter and I'm only working here, the full length of the musculature is not engaged. When I fully extend the elbow, the greatest range of motion this joint has for me, I then have the strength of the bicep engaged. And then as well, I'm also offering strengthening to the tendon, which is the part of the muscle that attaches it to the bone. So going through that full range of motion, then you are gaining the potential of strengthening the full muscle tissue and strengthening the connective tissues, then the tendon tissues as well. So again, yeah, full range of motion will offer you the best in strengthening and supporting and stabilizing the growth of muscle tissue that you might need. You also want to be aware of ranges of motion in that you're not swaying or cheating yourself through ranges of motion. For example, if I do the bicep curl again here, standing tall and proud, or if I'm referencing keeping good posture and working through that full range of motion, my body using that's previous slide of bracing and staying in good posture, I'm just working through that range of motion to isolate that muscle, but I'm not then extending or going back or throwing or using leverage or using momentum to generate the lift of the movement or the lift of the dumbbell or the movement of a wheelbarrow. So you want to have stability, support, and control of your movement is what I'm getting at there. So avoiding anything that might falter that or change that for you. And I think we're good there. Otherwise, you have the opportunity to read the slide. Moving along for awareness. So awareness, right? What can you get from a muscle when it's just moving? or what can you get from a muscle when you're thinking about it and activating it even more intentionally or purposely. So when you're performing an exercise, let me give you this as an example. Again, I'm just the bicep curl is an easy one. If I'm just doing bicep curls and we're doing several reps and we're having a conversation like, oh, did you see that show on Netflix last night? That new series, it was so fantastic. Oh, it was funny and it was hilarious. Oh, yeah, it was great. And then we've done 10 or 12 repetitions and I'm not really paid attention to what's happened with my movement, but I did 10 or 12 reps, right? But if I then on the opposite side of that, I bring awareness to the exercise and I stay present with the muscle being moved or being challenged within the exercise or within the movement, I then slow the movement down, do the movement slow, controlled, and bring awareness to the muscle tissue. So in that motion example prior, I'm just doing this and the muscle tissue is doing its bare minimum to lift the dumbbell in my hand, right? It would just do what was necessary to move it. But with awareness, I can then slow it down and I could purposely lift that muscle or squeeze or flex that muscle, contract that muscle to lift with slow, controlled attention and an awareness as it flexes, and then use that same awareness to help control the dumbbell back to its start position. So then I'm purposely now flexing the bicep. And when I do that with your awareness placed on it, you now then offer more of the muscle tissue being engaged. Right? So if I use this one again, example, going fast, talking about something else and not paying attention, let's say 100% of the muscle percentage would be all muscle fibers firing. Let's say only 40 are firing when we're doing this example, versus slowing down and putting the awareness there and purposely knowing this is my bicep, I'm doing a bicep curl, now I'm going to purposely squeeze and flex. Now I'm with intention, purposely squeezing and bringing all of the muscle tissue in. So now I'm using 100% of the potential that's there rather than the 40 or 30. So with your movement, you can get more bang for your buck by having awareness of what the working muscles should be or are within whatever movement or pattern of movement you're doing. And you can bring more success to building more strength, building more endurance, building more power into those muscles by actively using them, both, as I mentioned, in the flexion or the contraction of the muscle and both in the releasing. You can have awareness to keep the muscle taut in releasing the out of that range of motion as well. Now, this would apply for a lunge, for a squat, for a chest press, for a pull down, whatever the exercise is. Just using the bicep as a simple example, but you can relay this over into any other of your movement. In your yoga poses, if you're in Warrior 2, maybe I'm engaging my glutes and my quadriceps to hold me down low and a little bit of deltoid to hold my arms up. But beyond that, everything else can kind of relax. But knowing what muscles might be best engaged in your exercise can give you more benefits. Okay, and now we'll talk a little bit about intention. So I've mentioned intention a few times in talking on the previous slide. But here then, intention is basically the act or the instance of determining mentally upon some action or a result, right? Now then, the level of your success towards your set intention in any endeavor, in this case, movement or exercise, is a result of, there's a list of about 5 things here that we're going to put up on the screen that you can use to help you get more out of your exercise. So basically what we're asking you to have intention, bring awareness, and pay attention to what you're doing to get more strength, power, endurance, more safety along the way, more control. And also when you're moving slow and controlled like that with intention, it can almost become a little more contemplative or meditative as well. So let's look at this list. So we got 5 ideas here. So you got your passion for, your degree of clarity, your level of belief, consistency, and receptivity. So let's look at number 1, your passion for, right? How much do you really want to be doing bicep curls? You're just doing them because you're told you should be doing them, or you're doing them because you want to do them, or you're doing them because you have a passion or a goal of building a bigger, stronger bicep, whatever that is. But if you have passion for the movement or the exercise or the class you're in, be that your Pilates or your yoga or whatever it is, if you have more intention or passion for, you're going to have more success in it, right? Or the degree of clarity in that as well. I'm, having a goal or having an objective makes that more clear, right? I'm lifting weights and doing bicep curls, not because I want a bigger bicep curl, but because I know when I move my muscles, my overall body feels better, my overall mindset feels better, whatever else is improving. So the bicep curl could relate to something else, but being clear on that, knowing and telling yourself this, I do these lunges to help my overall health, or I do these squats because I got to strengthen my knee, whatever it might be, or I do these rotational patterns to help my golf game, right? So being more clear on what it is you're intending to get out of your movement, or it's just a chore that's got to get done. Your level of belief in that, right? Can I do this safely? Am I prepared to do this safely? And so believing and knowing that you can do it makes a big difference in if you have some doubts on how to do it safely. So hopefully this gives you the belief and the power to make some good choices that you can know how to move or master your movement. And then consistency, right? You consider, if I just work out once a month, I'm not likely to get the benefits that are from that regularly. So with consistency, then I build more endurance or more body awareness, or condition that into your body and your mind to have good form, to have good technique through the consistency of doing it regularly. And then the receptivity to it as well. This kind of ties in with the 1 and 2, with your passion or your interest or your clarity in it. Are you open to using movement for whatever goal or whatever else that is, or whatever your intention you have is? So there are a list of 5 that can benefit you there as well. Now, this slide, we're talking about working out and working in. So kind of 2 sides of a coin. Now, work out then would certainly be things that cause you to use more energy than you've produced. Use more energy than you've produced. So working out certainly creates a higher elevated heart rate. Typically, we notice your respiration rate, your breathing rate increase as well. And so those are changes that help you to know that you're working out. And certainly when your body is feeling up and strong and in control, then you have more, you have the potential to go and work out. You feeling good, you've got good energy, and you're feeling safe, and you feel you can keep good awareness throughout your workout. Those are the best times to go for a workout. If you're waking up and you're feeling sluggish and lethargic, or ladies, maybe you're on your cycle and you've just started your cycle, and your body energy is a little bit lower because of that, maybe you reference something else like a work in rather than a workout. So now then that leads probably to your question of, well, what is working in? So working in is the opposite of that. This is movements that then create energy within the body. And these are done with slow, gentle movements. Things like Tai Chi, things like Qigong, or gentle forms of yoga, or like flowing meditations or walking meditations can generate more energy in the body than what they use up. And signs of that, something that's working in versus working out, is I can do a flowing meditation. My heart rate doesn't rise. My respiration rate, I'm not breathing heavily because of that. It's just slow and gentle. And so you can compare the 2 differences there. So how does that work a little bit more specifically? Well, your body and the water in your body acting like a negative pole in the air you're breathing in would act like a positive pole in a magnet. With a magnet, positive and negative pole, you're kind of creating work potential. So through our breathing, we're creating work potential in the body. Now, when that comes in and we get the heart involved, and this heart is beating as well, then that oxygenated blood passing through the heart, and the heart acting like a generator, adds more electromagnetic energy to that, and that helps build up more energy in the body there as well. And then further, you get a plesio electromagnetic field as well, happening through the muscle tissue. So plesio, if you come from that, or think of that word from Greek, it's the pressure or pushing upon. So with the muscle tissue, when we're creating movements through the muscle tissue, there you're creating an internal pressure, right? Or the skin tracking along the bicep. If I'm doing that bicep curl, you notice your skin really isn't doing much movement there. The muscle tissue below is moving, it's shortening and elongating. So that crossing or that friction that's created underneath there, through there, is also adding to the building of that electromagnetic energy, or that electric energy potential in the body. So therefore, if you just sit there and breathe, you're going to have some movement through the lungs, and that'll have some stimulation working on the rib cage wall on the inside of the body. That'll have some benefit toward working in. But if you're adding more overall movement through with your arms or with your legs, doing gentle squat or real slow movements with the arms, these types of things now build more energy. Why? Because of that, what we're saying, you get the heart pumping, the breathing, and the muscle tissue moving, you're creating more energy, but you're not using up very much. So in the end, you end up with a surplus. You have more energy to do more of the things you like to do, or maybe want to do, versus workout. You jump in, you do your workout, you finish, you're tired, you're worn out. And that's fine. That's important as well. We want some of that so we can strengthen our muscle tissues in our body and our joints and things. But when do I work out? When do I work in, right? Essentially, it comes down to paying attention to your body and the signals your body are giving you. Am I safe? Am I energized? Am I okay to work out? Or should maybe I do 5 minutes of work in? Maybe I need to do a 5-minute walking meditation. Maybe I need to do 5 minutes of a flowing meditation, and then I can jump into my workout. Or maybe I'm totally exhausted and today is just not the day to work out at all. But what I'm saying is you may have the potential, if your passion is, I got to get this workout in, maybe you don't jump into the workout right away, but you spend a little bit of time doing a work in, and then after that, then maybe you go into your workout, and maybe you just tone the workout down a little bit so it's not as intense. But then doing that working in effort first, right, helping give you a boost in energy and a change in your energy to allow you then to work out and get more out of that workout rather than forcing yourself or pushing yourself through something that isn't as successful potentially. So hopefully that helps you to understand that a bit more. And us, Zeal Holistic Health, is, my wife and I, Tricia, we offer online classes. So these online classes are done through via Facebook, other than Zumba, which has its own rights, but Zumba is posted on Zumba.com. But we have classes throughout the week, and so I just wanted to reference that there's some differences in classes versus working out versus working in. So on a Monday, I have more of a hatha style yoga where we're holding poses. So is that a workout or a work in? Good question, right? So if you're new to yoga and you haven't done it, and I'm asking you to hold your legs and hold yourself in a pose and they're not used to that, those muscles are probably going to be fatigued, tired, stressed, and your heart rate will rise and the breathing respiration rate rises. So that would certainly be a work in. But if you're well seasoned and you've been doing classes or doing yoga or similar yoga poses often enough, you may be able to get into a warrior two and hold it for 3 or 4 nice, real calm breaths, and your body isn't overly taxed and you can stay calm and relaxed. Then there's a work in aspect to that. So the class could have a variation based on your level, or it could vary even within the class itself. If you're transitioning through poses quicker, that may bring about more of a workout. But I'm just saying there are elements of work in and work out within that. Zumba, certainly working out, I would class that as a workout because you're just moving and grooving and having such a great time, which is fantastic. And you're breathing a little bit more heavily and the heart rate is up. And that's all super fantastic and super wonderful. Zumba is fantastic for that. But just know also there's this kind of little bit of a counter effect, because typically if you're not too worried about how you look dancing, you get these great endorphins released in the body, these great chemicals released in the body, which will have a little bit of an effect on your parasympathetic system because you're feeling so good and relaxed. So there is a small element of work in that potentially kind of comes through in a chemical way, more so in Zumba. Dynamic stretching is a class where we would take movements through that dynamic moving movements or moving stretches. So you're encouraged to move through the greatest ranges of motion. Similar to yoga, I would say if this is new, it could be a workout for sure. You might feel the heart rate rise, you might feel the respiration rate rise, and then that could be that. Or you can still do the dynamic stretch class. Often these I cue with you're following me as a guide, but if you feel called to move more slowly, you could turn this into a more gentle, slow movement and still get the benefits of dynamically stretching muscle tissue as they pass through those ranges of motion. But you could create it or turn it into more of a work in as you need or want, or you could do it more quickly and it could become a little bit more of a workout. So there's a good mix in that class as well. Strength training on Wednesdays, strength training, I would say that's definitely a workout for sure. Thursdays, core flow yoga with Tricia. Now there she's doing more of a vinyasa, more of a flow, moving through poses more quickly, tending again to lean towards more of a workout than a work in. There might be elements of a work in with warm up and cool down actions through that, but overall typically more of a workout. And then Friday stretch and relax class with us, that one there is basically just more static stretching and doing lots of belly breathing along the way and allowing you an opportunity to relax and chill out. So in that, if I'm just holding a muscle in a stretched state, again, there's no real movement of the musculature, so that plesio electromagnetic field generation that's happening is a little bit not missing in that. But the deep belly breathing that you're cued to do constantly throughout the class, that can have a big effect on helping to generate energy through the body, and that calm overall state will help to give you a boost in energy. So I would rate that more as a work in for sure. So there you have it. There's a bunch of different ideas for you that you can incorporate into your movement, whether you're doing functional movements, doing your gardening, or you're into your recreation, your sports as a golfer or hockey player or tennis player, whatever it is, or cyclist, and you know you got muscles moving or being engaged. Keep those things in mind about breathing and about having good posture and awareness and attention, and all of those things that can help you sustain your movement longer. Or if you want to get to the movement and you don't have the energy for, you could consider working in as an option to help you prepare for a workout. So there, that is my presentation on mastering your movement. If you do come up with any questions at any time and you're interested in learning more about that, you can go into the comments and find out how to contact us. You can contact us and I can clearly do my best to give you answer or clarify anything you're unsure of. And also in the description below, you'll find also links to head on over to our website if you're interested in joining us for any online content. And if so, we would be certainly glad to have you come and try it all out. And again, I do appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I do appreciate that you are looking to help make yourself possibly healthier or more strength, or have more strength or more endurance and control or mastery of your movement, so you can get through your day doing all the things that you need best for you. So again, I'm going to look to wrap this up, and we'll see you again sometime soon. Thanks so much. Bye for now.